woman staying at an Airbnb discovers that the house she has rented is not what it seems. Barbarian is written and directed by Zach Kreger, starring Georgina Campbell as Tess, Bill Skarsgård as Keith, and Justin Long as AJ. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe. It would be very much appreciated. There are regular uploads on this channel covering movies, TV series, reactions, a sprinkle of boxing and MMA live stream reactions as well, that I like to do in some of my spare time. So, without further ado, let's talk about Barbarian. I was pleasantly enlightened to see the number of people that showed out for our screening. It was a packed house, and I think that this film was out since the beginning of September, but in different countries. And I think that what's happened is the word of mouth has gone out there, and I think more and more people are exploring the film. So it was pleasantly, it's always nice to get a crowd, regardless when you're watching a film, but when you get a crowd, especially with a horror film that's got a little bit of hype behind it and a little bit of excitement behind it, you can feel it really kind of oozing out of the audience. And we really did have a swell of a time with it. And I've got to say, Barbarian is one of the most unpredictable films that I have seen for a very long time. I think it's one of the most unpredictable films that I've possibly seen since The Night House, which was last year. You know, you couldn't really guess when I mean, at a certain point you kind of knew what was going on, but Barbarian gave me that similar kind of feeling and theme with The Night House that came out last year. And the reason why I say unpredictable is that this film, when we are inside the Airbnb, it is completely riddled with insert shots that are alluding to something to the audience that we clearly don't understand yet. And the film does that right from the jump. It starts to make you think about what are the things that are happening. You know, could it be this character? Could it be that character? And you're honestly on edge for about 45 minutes. And, you know, you've got the aesthetic of the Airbnb, then you've got the different layers of what is beneath the Airbnb. And boy, does that play with your emotions and make you shit sideways. And I gotta give some props to the cinematographer that done this film, because the insert shots were so crisp and just so vibrant. You know, you could tell that they spent a lot of time on that, and I really did appreciate that from the aesthetic of how the film looked. The product design as well felt lived in. Didn't feel cheap, and I think that's a huge compliment, because I can't be the only one that thinks that, because this film does not have an astronomical budget. We had a budget of about, I think, 4 or 5 million. But there's certainly been horror films that I've watched, or just films in general, that have had a bigger budget, and it doesn't feel as natural, as realistic as the product design that you see in this film. And it's with just maybe a hairline of money that other studios are giving to other films. You know, and I gotta tip my hat to the director, to the casting crew. Even the costume designer characters was cool. There was something quite I noticed there was something with the look of the character of AJ that I caught onto, and I thought, you know, you know, having a character be the way he was, in the sense of how egotistical he was, and have him in all bright, vibrant colours of pink, yet, you know, I can't talk too much about that, but even that I felt like played into the film. So even, you know, the small things in this film all add up. And the director, Zach Gregor, this was something that I found out in the research for this film. He said that and I found this information on the trivia part of IMDb. He said that he wanted everything that was happening in the top half in the Airbnb to be something out of a David Fincher film, and everything that is below the Airbnb is something that you'd see in a Sam Raimi film. And I think that is such a great thought process from the director, because it really did feel like that in the film. And it's great to see filmmakers pulling inspiration from other works, you know, and then putting their own spin on it, you know. So look, every filmmaker, whether we like it or we don't, we're all criminals, we're all thieves, and we take little things and then we put our own twist on it. I mean, that's always been filmmaking since the dawn of time. So yes, for 45 minutes in the film, you are on edge. You ain't got a clue as to what's really going on. And you kind of think, as everything is playing out, you kind of do think to yourself, is it going to be one of those films where they reveal what's really going on in the last 15 to 10 minutes of the film? Like sometimes an element that is played out we've seen it in works of paranormal, psychological horrors, or even creature features, right? And the film doesn't actually choose to do this, because those 45 minutes feel like you've been there for 2 hours, not in the sense of in a bad way or saying it's boring, because the tension feels so real and so raw. You feel like you've been there for an eternity with the characters as well, purely based on how petrified you are. And I just love, as the film kind of goes into another chapter, the film doesn't pull any punches, and it just punches you straight in the face with what is the thing that is down there, or rather the entity, right? What is down here? And you get a glimpse of this thing within about in between 3 and 5 seconds, and you're just like, what on earth is that? You've got more questions, if anything. The film becomes one mystery, and then the second and third act becomes another mystery that we have to find out. And I think that was a nice, in a sense of directing, that was something nice to see a director play around with. I think Bill Skarsgård was great for the screen time that he had in the film, and I think he'd done a great job in his performance, you know, this kind of aloof, shy, and of not confident in himself kind of persona with Keith. And you know, when you're hearing dialogue like, yeah, I'm a lion tamer in a zoo, you know, your mind starts to think, okay, this guy could be a suspect. He's a great actor, you know, and I'm very glad that he took this role, because I think in Hollywood, Skarsgård is known as kind of a leading kind of man kind of role, and I think he obviously looked at this script and thought, this has a lot of potential, I'm going to take this part, because he must have really believed in this script to do the part that he had done. And, you know, my hat's off to him. And I'm from this performance, I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do with The Crow, because I think he's going to absolutely crush it. So let's talk about Georgina Campbell. in this film. And amongst the horror community, you know, we get people that say, within horror, we've got scream queens, you know, we've got female leading actresses that are, for a very long time with the genre of horror, where they're the leading kind of character. And I would have to say, I think we're going to have to add Georgina Campbell to that list, because I think she done an absolutely great job in this film. And there's something about, it's like, from all of the moments in this film are creepy and deranged and just out of left field, but it's really in the human moments with her character that you really feel the fear with her performance, you know. And that, I mean, the moment where she kind of realizes all is not where it seems, when she gets to the third layer of that Airbnb down below, and the way that she emits that fear, I was like, I was scared. I was scared because she was scared, you know. And that hasn't regularly happened for a very long time watching a film, just based off a character's fear that she emits. It invokes something out of me. That hasn't happened for a very long time, and I was like, man, she's good. Justin Long was also really good in this film as well, I would say. And there's something very interesting that I see between two characters, between Tess and AJ. And both of them, as characters, have very different perspectives of what they find scary. And I think that is almost the self-aware meta thing that we see with people, with audiences when they watch a film. You know, when they watch, a psychological horror film, you know, or the broad scape of the subgenres of horror, where you got the psychological horrors, you got the paranormal horrors, you got the survival slasher, or the creature feature. You know, you see that there's different people that have different opinions on these genres and which ones they find scary the most. And there's something that we see play out with AJ's character, which is a complete night and day perspective of what he sees in a situation and what we as the audience have been petrified about for a long time watching the film. And to see that play out was really brilliantly done, and just really satirically funny, with the way it paid off when we get to know AJ's character a little bit better. And one more quote that really stuck with me, or a line of dialogue that stuck with me, and it came from AJ's character. Am I a bad person? Or am I a good person that done a bad thing? And I think that really resonate. I think that will really resonate with a lot of people. And I think that also that line of dialogue is so apparent to the villain, you know, or let's say you know, how do I say it? The mother. You know, that correlates well to the mother, because she is just as unfortunate as any other person could have their bad luck. And I was like, you know what, that line of dialogue was really powerful. Probably one of the most powerful lines of dialogue that I've seen in a film within 2022. And that for me really sealed my appreciation and my overall love for this film. And with that said, I will be giving Barbarian a solid 8 out of 10. And I really do plan on watching this again, because I think this is a film that could only get better with a second rewatch. Like I say, the first half of this film is its kind of own mystery, and then the second half is another mystery as to what's going on. And there's some type of, this is why I need to watch it again, this is some type of underlying tone about the film industry that I think could maybe go over people's heads a bit. So there's a lot of Easter eggs in here, I will say this, people, and I think that will surprise you. So I definitely plan on having a second watch of this film, and it could go up to 8.59 with the more information that I could find out about Barbarian. So guys, what did you think of Barbarian? I will say this as well, I looked online just before I done this review, and it's saying that there's no more screens for Barbarian, which is kind of sad. You know, I really wanted to people take my word on this. Maybe you would have gone and watched it, but what I do know is that it's on HBO Max. If you've got HBO Max, give it a watch there. Or if it could also be on Sky Cinema, which maybe you have to pay a VOD price. But look, I'll say this: if you're especially a fan of horror, I would say 100% seek this film out and watch it. I can guarantee you that at the very most, you will find it a decent film. And just to add, it's also it's satirically and macabrely funny at moments as well, which you know, I think having elements of comedy in a horror, if it's done right, I think it's a nice complement to the disturbing factors of the film as well, if you're able to pull it off. But yeah, I recommend it, please. Fan of horror, must watch. I recommend it, I really do. And yeah, I guess that will be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. Check the description for more videos. You know what to do, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.